Thank you all for coming. We are going to be getting started in about 2 minutes, so just hang on while a few more people join us. Thanks so much. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's session. We are going to be talking about managed detection and response. It is, oh, this is interesting. Zoom is telling me I'm muted, but hopefully you guys can hear me. So if you can just drop a couple of comments in the chat to let me know that the audio is working, that would be awesome. So again, welcome to the managed detection and response. Thank you guys for playing along. I appreciate it. So we're going to be talking about this fairly new terminology. It's not necessarily new technology, but it might be a term that you're not familiar with. So we will jump into that in just the next couple of minutes. To introduce our speakers for today, we've got a great lineup. Of course, we've got Michael Crean. He is the founder and CEO of Solutions Granted, probably not a stranger to most of you. So he will be speaking in just a couple of minutes. We've also got Corey Clark. He is our Director of Threat Intelligence. And I'm Jennifer Bleem, the Cybersecurity Sherpa. I'm the VP of Business Development here. Everybody that is on this webinar is a partner of Solutions Granted, but we did want to just sing a few praises, but it's really not about us. It's really about you, the partner community, the trust that you put in us, our technology, our team. And so we have a huge number of awards that we're of course proud of, but most of all, we are thankful to you, the partner community, for helping make us what we are. We're going to continue to protect you and bring you top of the line technologies, solutions, and a team. We are also very thankful that even in this crazy time, we are continuing to grow and add new team members almost every week. It is a great time to be able to protect a channel. So what are we going to be talking about today? Well, all things related to managed detection and response. So we're going to explain why we are so focused on the endpoint. We're going to let you know what the experts are saying when it comes to MDR, why this is such a big player, why this term is starting to be heard inside of the channel and outside of the channel in the cybersecurity world. And then we're going to dig in specifically to why you should consider MDR with Solutions Granted. So the experts have been talking about this for quite a while, and I'm going to pass this over to Michael for him to share a little bit of what we're seeing from the Gartner group. So Michael, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Fabulous.
So, love them or hate them, Gartner has an awful lot of great information, and sometimes they have a little bit too much influence in the market space and becomes a little political occasionally. But as we were doing some research and we get a lot of questions on what is MDR, we went out to Gartner and we found this Peer Insights review page that they have, and it was really great information. So we thought we'd like to share that with you. And it's pretty simple. The goal of MDR service is to rapidly identify and limit the impact of a security incident to everyone. It's 24/7 threat monitoring, detection, and targeted response. And they say it may use a combination of technologies. I think it has to use a combination of technologies to do it the right way. So this doesn't become smoke and mirrors. It doesn't become the IBM magic pixie dust. It's a lot more than just saying, I've got one thing, and that one thing is going to fix all things. And so that is what we've come here today to try to make this a little bit more of a demystified what is MDR and how are we doing it differently. We do get a lot of questions. One of the questions that seems to come up more often than not is, we already have your tier 3 service. Can you tell me what's the difference between tier 3 and MDR? Because they look a lot alike. And in some ways they do. They look very similar. But in other ways, they are radically different. We're using similar technologies. You've got the same SOC team, look at same things. But there's these little things called IOCs, and they're indicators of compromise. And in the tier 3 service, we've got about 8 indicators of compromise in the way we're hunting. In our MDR service, we've got just a little over 300. And those 300 are aligning to the MITRE ATT&CK framework, which is critically important. You look at some of the other MDR players out there and they don't really tell you their methodologies. They're not telling you how they're doing things. And we want to be clear. We're obviously not going to tell you exactly what's in the secret sauce, but we do want to tell you that we are doing that different. Also, you guys have all heard about our active ready response and how we're taking that additional step in tier 3, where we take that from that passive scanning into what becomes a real-time scanning engine. We are using the power of that technology to constantly analyze that machine to look for the things that are hiding, not necessarily in plain sight. So using a little bit about what Gartner is saying, but then talking about some of the combinations of the technologies that we're bringing together for you.
Excellent. All right, so I am manning chat and I'm looking at the messages. A couple of people said that they weren't quite able to see the link because of screen resolution, so I just posted that in the chat. It's interesting. Michael said, we've been doing a ton of research over the last number of months, 6-8 months. And one of the things that I kept seeing was this, in my mind, I started to build a graph, but it was this concept that the faster you can catch a threat, the less of an impact it would have on the small business owner, which makes sense. But then I started to see all of these other statistics around the cost of a threat and how the cost escalates the longer it takes you to uncover a threat, which is what MDR is all about. It's that speed, the speed to finding the threat and the speed to stopping it. And so I put a bunch of different data sources together and we've come up with a graph that I wanted to share with you because, again, the whole concept of MDR is that the faster you can detect and respond to something, the lower the spend is or the financial impact is to your client. So I want to explain what it is that you're seeing in this graph, because obviously the goal is to never have an issue. The goal is to have 0 security events. And so therefore the financial impact would be 0. Unfortunately, we do not live in that fairy tale universe. And so the goal is still, though, to get as close to that 0 as possible. And so this is almost like a good kind of a 0 day, if you will, that is as quickly as the threat happens, you want it to be found and responded to, or as quickly as possible. The thing that's interesting is that that dotted line that's right around the 7-day mark, half of the threats are found within a week. But the scary thing is that the other half of the threats take a significant amount of time to find. And so often that is 100 days, 200 days, 300 days. And we've all certainly seen headlines where, sometimes the threats are in the network, or potentially the issue has been there. The vulnerability has been unseen and unpatched for sometimes a year, 2 years, sometimes 4 years. And so obviously the goal is to keep it as low as possible, because as you can see by the cost, that graph that's going up, the longer the threat is left undealt with, the larger the cost. And so it's important for you to see that how large these dollar figures can become. And these are statistics that are specifically around small business, which is what we always encourage you to share with the end user. Because when you look at some of the enterprise level statistics, you're going to start to see that, the average breach costs $3.5 million, or numbers in that realm. And those are legitimate stats, and they're real, and they're proven, but they're not numbers that your clients can wrap their heads around. And so we wanted to make sure that you saw numbers that were specific to small businesses. And so you can see that a breach that's in place, or a cyber incident that's in place for 200 days is going to cost around 120,000, 140,000. The numbers are a little bit different depending on the reports that you look at. We always went with the more conservative numbers. So we erred on the side of good news, if a cyber incident can ever be good news. And so you can see that obviously the goal is to be down and to the left as far as you can on this graph. Now, this begs the question, which is, which of my clients are right for an MDR solution? Because it is a bit of a premium offering. It's not necessarily intended for all of your clients, although as we started to make the list of which clients it would be right for, which would be those that are highly valued, maybe those that have compliance needs, HIPAA, PCI, maybe they have to meet various compliances, those that have intellectual property that they highly value, which always brings to mind the attorneys, the architect firms. As we started making that list, I said, well, if I put on my MSP hat for a second, which of the clients aren't highly valued? I mean, if you have 40,000 a month in recurring revenue, which of those clients would say, oh yeah, $200,000, no big deal, I'll go ahead and cut a check for that? So on the one hand, yes, it's a premium offering that absolutely there's a use case for your highly valued, compliance-driven clients with intellectual property. But on the other hand, which of your clients could you afford to lose, or would you be okay with them blaming you, potentially suing you? Which of them could afford to write a check for $50,000 or $100,000? So those are, I'm just trying to be, how we are very candid and very honest with what we are recommending. So while it's a premium offering, I'm not sure which of your clients wouldn't be a fit. And so we wanted to answer that question, share some of that intel with you as well. I also want to pass this back over to Michael, because we get a lot of questions around, okay, why the endpoint? Why are you so focused on the endpoint? And we want to remind you of our philosophy and the foundation where we're coming from.
So I think that there's three things that we continue to talk about. And again, this to us is the beginning part of the journey. It is not the end. It is not the middle. It is what we believe to be the functional beginnings of every solid cybersecurity foundation that every customer, partner, anybody that is concerned out there should have. And not just a firewall. We believe that it needs to be a DPI SSL enabled firewall. I think you all heard me say it. You've seen the stats for yourself. We are well over 70 some odd % of web-based traffic out there now is HTTPS. It is encrypted. If your firewall's not capable of looking inside of that technology and seeing that encrypted traffic, you're missing an awful lot of what is going on. And now what they're seeing is the statistics are showing 1 in 20 pieces of malware coming through encrypted channels. So it's really important. And when I say firewalls, we're not just talking about traditional brick and mortar. We've all experienced this great transformation of work from home through necessity. Firewalls have become even more important when it comes to the cloud. Saw a breach, unfortunately, this weekend where they had a domain controller in Azure and it got compromised and there was no firewall. And I'm not saying that it would have stopped it, not saying that it would have stopped it, but it didn't have the fighting chance that it needed because it didn't have the protection that we would find as traditionally necessary when it was sitting in a brick and mortar location. Email security is, I will tell you, this is incredibly unfortunate that we're still seeing the things that we're seeing today. But if Corey's team responds to 10 breaches a week, and there's more than that, but I like easy numbers because it makes me look smart. I will tell you for sure, 9 of those breaches we continue to keep attributing to the lack of email security. Somebody gets a phishing email, they click on it, and away it goes. You've given the credentials. So basically you've taken the front door, you've unlocked it, you've opened it, left the screen door, and you're hoping they don't make their way in. But email security. The stats are now showing, and I think it was the Verizon report from 2019 showed that it's as high as 91 or 93%. I don't remember the exact stats on that. And there are some ridiculously easy ways to defend against this. We recently launched a new API-driven email security product. And for our partners, it costs you a dollar, one, you can't, I'm not even sure like $1 is really $1 on the dollar menu by the time you add tax, but yes, we're really $1. And that's what it's going to cost you and the amount of savings that you're going to get from that. And we're going to have a webinar next week around that to talk about this offering and get to it. And endpoint protection, and that's why we're here today. It isn't good enough to just have the traditional signature based, because signatures are a thing of the past. You look at all the fileless malware. You've got to have script control. And more importantly for all of this, as we tie it together, somebody's got to be watching. Having that firewall, but nobody's watching, you don't know. Did the tree make a sound when it fell in the middle of the woods if nobody was there to hear it? It did, but can you prove it? No. If somebody's not monitoring the endpoint protection and really looking for that anomalistic behavior, and that's where MDR is going, are you able to see the thing that these threat actors are getting very tricky with? It isn't a brute force attack the way it used to be. These are slow and steady wins the race, and they're winning. And these three core components are critically important. If I had to get you down to two, I'm going to tell you it's email security and endpoint protection, and it becomes more important to use something that is being monitored, cared for, fed, and looked after.
Excellent. Had to find my unmute button or mute button, as the case may be. Awesome. So I'm going to pass this over to Corey, because I know you've heard a fair amount from Michael and from myself, but it's Corey and his team that are behind the scenes dealing with these threats day in, day out, often minute in, minute out. And so I want to pass this over to him to dig into the details a little bit more. So Corey, I know we were able to get you to share your screen, or sorry, share your what is this thing called? The camera and the mic. So you are good to go.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. For those of you that have spoken with me or been through my demos for Cylance, a big important term for me is focus. So when it comes to implementing an MDR focus or MDR implementation, we need to have a focus and not just come out there sporadically and just put something together. So what we've done is we've aligned our solutions together around the MITRE ATT&CK framework. For those of you who don't know what the MITRE ATT&CK framework, it's a knowledge base and community that provides information on the tactics and the techniques the bad guys are using when they're trying to infiltrate your customers, when they're trying to infect them, or so forth. Leveraging this framework, we can start implementing detection methods around them. So we have a focus on it. So what we've done is we've taken your current, because we get this question a lot, well, I have Cylance Tier 3, what does MDR bring? It brings a whole lot more. It takes your current Cylance Tier 3 and basically injects it with steroids. If you look at Cylance Tier 3 offering, we're accounting for roughly 8 IOCs. We can bump that up to over 300, and that's going to consistently grow based off these different tactics that are coming to light. And then next slide, please. So when it comes, you're probably familiar right now with the term active ready response. You've heard me say it over and over. You've heard my team say it over and over. Currently with the Cylance Tier 3 offering, what we're doing with active ready response is using it as a response mechanism only on specific incidents. So if you have a critical event, our SOC team will use it to isolate, to be able to perform further scanning. But there's no proactive response in that solution. So what we're implementing in the MDR is real-time scanning with this active ready response. What that will allow us to do is real-time address more detections. While I love Cylance, while I will go to my grave saying it's the best endpoint antivirus out there for many different reasons, it's not going to catch everything. So we need some overlap, and that's what this real-time scanning is going to provide. Plus, it helps our team provide quicker triage of what's going on. We need to gather information of what is hitting your customer quickly and efficiently. Then once we identify what's happening, we need to be able to contain that information, contain those endpoints, whether it's one or multiple, to prevent any further infection, exfiltration, or destruction. Next slide, please. And then what we're also bringing to this, as Michael hit on earlier, is the human element. So what we're bringing is that expertise, right? The tool is only as good as the person using it. I'm sure many of you heard me say that over and over. I can't just go out to Lowe's and buy every single tool out there and consider myself a carpenter, because I'll never be one. What we're bringing to the table is that expertise that is needed to implement these solutions properly. You're also going to have that real-time monitoring, 24/7. When it comes to this monitoring, you're going to get roughly 99% of the stuff coming in is going to be garbage or a bunch of noise. So you need those experts to be able to take that 99% and really get that 1% that's remaining to get that information out so we can properly triage. So here's some real life solutions of how we've implemented this. So what we have is ransomware that the AV has missed. So what this shows is, multiple workstations were crypto walled. When it comes to ransomware infections, they are typically staged now. It's not just one hit, get in. What the bad guys have done is they've come to find out we need to properly stage these so we can figure out where this is going to stick. So this live example shows how they were hiding this ransomware infection. And so we can identify which machines were compromised by using our active ready response real-time scanning, because AVs they only look for executables. They look for scripts. They look for memory processes. We are very limited on the amount of triage we can do. But with the solution that we currently have, means that are currently infected in a slide, please. I'm not playing with well. What we're showing here is so this is a live example where an adversary implemented a process running out of the Windows temp directory called Rainmeter. So what we can do is once we efficiently isolate those endpoints, we can actually use our tools now to go in there and mitigate these processes and remove these processes before it becomes a bigger issue. And next slide, please.
Yeah, so we are getting a couple of people saying that that some things had flickered. I was noticing some internet flickers as well. So Corey, help me out. Did we cover all of the different scenarios that you wanted to go through?
I did. I don't know if you heard it. My screen's doing weird things too. Zoom's, I think Zoom's is on the fritz again.
Yes. Okay. So I heard. I'm going to go back to. So I know I heard most of the this slide, which was the responding to ransomware that the AV missed. There were a couple of flickers, but yeah, the last maybe 90 seconds or so. So can you give us a quick recap of this one and then a quick recap of the next one, and then I'll take it back.
Yep. What this is showing is our ability to triage the machines efficiently. So as you can see in the picture down below, it's showing the ransomware text files. What I was hitting on was the ransomware doesn't come in one fail swoop now. What they do is they pre-stage different processes. They have different phases of a ransomware infection now. And so they want to do it slowly and efficiently so that it will actually stick. So with our tools, we can actually go out there and find that stage one that the antivirus will never find.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go to this next slide then.
There we go. So what this is showing is our ability to take action and mitigate a potential infection. So this shows where a ransomware infection was hitting a customer. They were using a process called rainmeter.exe running out of the Windows temp directory. So using our tools, once we isolate those endpoints, we can still go in there and have the ability to mitigate or remediate that infection. So this is showing an example of how we can use our tools to go in there and terminate these processes to help clean it up.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to take it back and I am going to go over the most complicated part of your day today. And for those of you who know me, you know I am being completely sarcastic because, as Michael likes to remind me, I am tech-ish. So here is not at all anything complex. You guys can all handle this. I'm seeing questions coming in about implementation and pricing, and we are happy to go over that. But what we want to do is go over it one at a time, just so that we can have a deeper conversation about how the implementation works, go over the pricing, etc. So I want you to pull out your phones. I know, very, very hard to do, but pull out your phones and I want you to scan this and it will compose an email for you. So literally, if you're like a couple of us and you have more than one email client on your phone, you might have to actually tell it which email client you want, but pull out your phone, scan this, and then we are going to get to Q&A. So I'm going to hold it here for just a minute while you guys all scan this, and then we will shift to Q&A. All right, I will bump back and forth between the two because I've gotten a private message from a couple of people saying, hold on, they got to grab their phones. I respect the fact that you don't have your phone glued to your hip, so we will go back to this in a second.
I greatly appreciate that personally.
Yes, I know. I'm a bit jealous actually because I don't emulate that skill set by any stretch. Okay, so one thing, I've seen this question come in a little bit, but I wanted to make sure we talked about it, is mixing and matching. So either Michael or Corey, can you cover that concept?
Sure. I think everybody that's already an existing partner of ours is pretty well aware that we've been ornery or adamant, depending on how you catch us and what day it might be, about not mixing and matching the tiers of service. And it's really been about trying to keep things simple and easy. And, tier 1 doesn't have any syslog integration. So there's no SIM, there's no SOC services, there's no auditing. Tier 2, it does have it, and it's a Monday through Friday, 8 to 8 Eastern time, but there's no log retention. Tier 3 is a 24/7 service, and we are doing log retention. So for the first time, we have decided, because we were able to align them in a way where it makes sense, because like Jennifer said earlier, this may not be the right solution for every single one of your customers, but it might be right for one. So if you are currently a tier 3 customer and you want to add MDR, it's a couple things. One is, if you've got 200 endpoints, come on in, join the ride. Party bus is waiting for you. And because it is 24/7, just like tier 3, because we are doing syslog integration to the SIM and we're doing 12 months worth of log retention, you can mix and match. Now, it is not a, hey, it per customer, I want some tier 3, some MDR. It is a all or nothing. Mickey Mouse is going to get MDR, but Goofy may not need it. But as long as one's on tier 3 and one's at MDR, please have both of them as it best fits you and your customers' needs.
Excellent. So we have a couple of questions coming in about the email solution, Michael, that you alluded to. So I will tell you the training on that, the webcast on that is going to be next Thursday, I believe at 1 p.m. Eastern. We have not sent out invitations for that. You should get one today or tomorrow and again next week. So be watching for that. Very, very excited about the offering, and it's what we call stupid pricing, because it really is. It's insane. So so that question.
And this is not the used car salesman type of insane that you hear. No, it's not that insane. This is something that, and it won't last forever. We have decided that we'll carry this through the end of the year. And some of it was, one, we want to do the right thing by the community. We also know that your customers have been hit hard. COVID-19 has been a ridiculously tough path. So this is a little bit of our response to our community to help you help your customers.
Okay, so a question that came in, and Corey, I don't know if you want to take this or Michael, but okay, great. So this is managed detection and response. Does that mean that you take care of everything for us? So which one of you wants to take that one?
Man, I'm going to tell you, I hate the word everything unless it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet and you can eat everything. That's about the only time that I think everything applies. the word everything, and this is some of like the research that Jennifer has done, that we get to this, what we feel is a little bit of smoke and mirrors, or I mentioned that IBM magic pixie dust. It can't be everything. It is not possible. I can't stop bad passwords. Can't stop it. There's nothing I can do about that. If you don't have good password policies in place, I can't fix that for you. If you're not patching your machines, or if there's a third-party application you're unaware of that creates a vulnerability and it causes an exploit, I can't stop that from happening. I can't apply the patch for you. Now I can react to it, but again, that's not everything. So there's all of these scenarios that I'd love to tell you it's everything. Unfortunately, that's a lie. And if somebody tells you they will do everything for you, I'm pretty sure you're going to find out quickly. Everything is some things, but not most.
Excellent. Okay, good. So our goal was to keep this short and sweet, and I can only speak to the short part because we are at the 30-minute mark. Hopefully you believe it was sweet, but I'm not seeing any more questions come in. Now the danger is, I know some of them came in via chat. I think I got all of them, but the chat scrolls so quickly that I want to wait just a minute. If you did put a question in chat and we missed it, it's blame it on me. It's completely inadvertent. But if we did miss it, I'm going to wait for another minute or two and give you a chance to put it into the chat. If you get off of this call and you're kicking yourself because you didn't scan the QR code, which is on your screen right now, then you can definitely email us directly, sales@solutionsgranted.com, and we are always happy to help. All right, so is this being recorded? Only if technology is working. So I hope so.
Zoom's been having issues. Who knows?
Right? So it's supposed to be recording. I pray it was recorded. So that is that, and we will be posting this on YouTube, probably as a private link, and we can get you that link if needed. So just let us know. Can we?
So there was one question. Jeremy said he'd like to get going. Jeremy, we will certainly be reaching out to you. And Ben, I know that you said you had to hop off. I don't know if we've caught you, but you had some pricing questions when it came to the cloud security solution, phishing, email, other aspects of that. We will definitely get some pricing over to you very quickly.
Excellent. Jay is saying, can we communicate with our rep? Absolutely. Let us know. You can either reach out to, most of you work with Ariel. She'd be happy to answer your questions or get you on our calendar. Or if you scan that QR code, same thing will happen. Same process either way.
And Jay, if you're really hot to trot and you want to talk to somebody today, I might even answer your call.
I can guarantee it will not be me. Because this idea of having a security webcast next week, we are making this happen, even though we just decided yesterday. It is that awesome of a solution that we want to get in your hands as quickly as possible. So my day's a little bit busy for the next several hours, probably about 5. All right. I am not seeing any more questions come in. I will hold for just another moment or two. While I'm waiting for any more to come in, I just want to thank everybody for your time. Always a pleasure to get you on the phone and chat with you just a little bit. So Tom, happy to go over pricing. Either scan the QR code that was there a few moments ago or email sales@solutionsgranted.com. Happy to chat about pricing. And I believe that is it for the questions. So thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it. I know webinars happen every single day, probably almost every hour of every single day. So we do thank you very much for your time and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.